good FA Cup final. And Hatchin! What a magnificent goal!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live All Things Sky Blue show with myself, Mark Smith. Tonight, be joined by Cameron Cairns and Ant Norgraves from To Hull and Back podcast. Tonight, we're talking about obviously the Hull game, which is taking place on the Easter Monday, 8 o'clock kickoff. So, wants to get this show done today because of other commitments throughout the week and weekend. So before I bring Cameron on, I just want to get a bit of housekeeping out of the way. We're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications for all your fabrication needs across Coventry and the Warwickshire area. We're also partners with The Anecdotes and the Sky Blue Tavern. You can find us on the usual YouTube, X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe, obviously, to our YouTube channel will be really appreciated. And we're part of the Sports Social Network. And last but not least, we are sponsored by Sky and Friends Pet and Dog Walking Services. So tonight, talk about the whole game. We might talk a little bit about sort of the season ahead as well with Derby as well, just to sort of go over what we discussed last night. And we'll bring Cameron now. So Cameron, good evening. How are we doing?
Yeah, good evening, mate. I'm not too bad, thank you. Hope you're okay too. Good evening to everybody.
Yeah, you looking forward to the Easter set of fixtures?
I am, yeah. Both very challenging games for two different reasons. You've got one team that's challenging to get in the top six, and then you've got another who is battling to stay in the top six, but they're still only 5 points off the Autos. So it's going to be two interesting challenges.
How have you found the break, the international break? Have you been quite happy to sort of watch the international football, or I know you like going to non-league football as well, but how have you sort of coped with it with no COV football in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I've been okay. I went and saw Gloucester City on Saturday. They beat Plymouth Parkway 3-0. And then on Tuesday, I was in Liverpool watching Scotland play the Ivory Coast in a friendly. Unfortunately, the Ivorians won because I think Scotland played okay, just lacked an end product in key moments, couldn't even get shots on target. But it was enjoyable just to witness my first international game. So it was definitely fun. So my best advice is if you're bored during the international break, find a non-league team to support because firstly, they appreciate the extra numbers and you are doing football a world of good. And secondly, if you have an international team, go and see them every often. And that's what I did for Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, let's look ahead to next couple of games for the Sky Blues. Derby at home. Obviously, we spoke a bit about that last night, and also Hull. This show's primarily about the Hull game, but I guess without knowing the score of the Derby match, what's a good outcome, would you say, the next two games, points-wise? Obviously, 6 we would love, but do you think 4 or less than that's still okay?
I think a minimum of 4 is okay. I think winning at home is a must. I think I will always prioritise the home game, so I expect to win on Friday, nothing else. That's not the underrating Derby, far from it. I know how good they are, and they are very good away from home, especially. But at the same time, I want to at least win at home. And then Hull City, that will provide its own challenge. They're trying to stay in the top 6, but at the same time, before tomorrow's proceedings, they are still only 5 points off automatic promotion. So on Monday, they could be even further away from that, or they could be even closer. And if they're even closer than that, that might make them a little bit more hungry to go and get over the line against us on Monday. So I'm definitely looking forward to these next couple sets of fixtures.
I mean, looking at the whole game, we played them obviously very first game of the season, it was a 0-0 draw, and I think we were all a bit disappointed with that. But what you could see from Hull in that game was how good they were defensively, and obviously Charlie Hughes was a player we were heavily linked with at the time. What do you make of Hull generally this season from what you've seen of them?
Yeah, they've been one of the league's entertainers, and I've seen the goals for goals against record. They concede a fair few, but I think that's because they're just so positive in attacking, and they've also scored a lot too. I think the manager Sergei Jakirovic has done a fantastic job because bearing in mind they were under a transfer embargo when this season started. They're only allowed to sign frees and loans, and they really utilised that market. Case in point, Ollie McBurney as their number 9. What a season he's having! And I was scratching my head that he wasn't in the Scotland squad in March, because one thing Scotland lack is a goal scorer. He's been scoring goals. I'm surprised he wasn't given the call. And you've also got Charlie Hughes, as we've spoke about. He's again having a really impressive season. The Premier League might be calling for Charlie Hughes, and I know we tried to sign him in the summer, and who knows, we might revisit that again. We might not, but it'll be interesting. And I think they've done really well considering the circumstances. And I'm going to be controversial, and I'd actually say I would give the whole manager of the season.
Yeah, it's been really good, because they've had a bit of a financial sort of embargo crisis, haven't they, as well?
Yeah. And I think we're working under those circumstances. It's not easy, especially when before he came in, Burnley just avoided relegation on the final day, I believe. So to have that turnaround so quickly with somewhat of a similar squad, because they're only able to use frees and loans, it's a remarkable achievement, and they should certainly hold their heads high, because they've been fantastic.
Would you rate him as done a better job than Lampard?
I think it's hard to compare, because we already had a well-established squad who had finished the season before quite strongly, and we didn't really bring in anyone like many new starters apart from Rushworth, and it was just Lampard has improved the current set of players where Sergei has had to get his own ideas through the door. He's had to utilise the free and loan market. I think they've both done extremely well in very different ways. I would say what Sergei has done at Hull is the more impressive, because we've gone from relegation strugglers to promotion contenders in 12 months. But I also think Lampard has done a terrific job, because although we were expected to do well, were we expected to potentially run away with the league? I don't think so.
Yeah. I think looking at it from our point of view, I would say for me, if we can get, as you said, 4 points minimum, if we can get at least 4 points from the next 2 games, I think that really sets us up nicely for Sheffield Wednesday and then Blackburn. And you think, we could potentially be on 90 points. I think it's just the key is just not to lose, and just, if you get 1 win from somewhere, that would be really good. I know Regan Slater got sent off in the West Brom game, but I believe he could be available though, can't he? Because I think it's a 1-match ban. Is that right?
I believe so. Yes, he should be back.
I think from what I saw of it, it was an absolutely shocking decision by the officials. Another player that could cause us problems is Joe Gelhardt. What do you make of him?
Brilliant player. He's done a fantastic job. Absolutely. He's been slotting behind McBurney usually, where McBurney's been the target man, and he can just feed the ball to Gelhardt in the number 10 role, and he has done a cracking job there. His most prolific season to date, and I can see why Hull are so happy to have him at their club. Yeah. The only concern for Hull though is next season he's only on loan. Leeds United are his parent club, so
yeah.
But the big question is, can they sign him permanently, or are Leeds going to think, oh, okay, we might need another option to cover for Calvert-Lewin or Mecha or Offacore, and that might be Joe Gelhardt, because next season there's every chance he could be overtaking Joel Perreault in the Leeds pecking order.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Looking at the game from our point of view, obviously we touched on last night about with international break happening in the last week or so, quite a few players, notably Mason Clark and Joel Latibaudiere, obviously playing for Jamaica as an example, may be rested for. I'm predicting that they probably may not feature. They may be on the bench for tomorrow. But do you think the team lineup wise will be the team that Lampard would really want in terms of if all the players back? Do you think he might be resting players at Derby and then bringing those players back for this game?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll certainly be seeing squad rotation, especially in the case of in Latibodia, and especially the case of Latibodia and Mason Clark, where they've had to travel to Mexico for their playoff games. That's quite a journey back. I think Jay Da Silva, I think he'll be fine. I know he's played 120 minutes in a playoff, and then he played a full 90 in a friendly against Northern Ireland. However, I think Jay Da Silva has showcased excellent fitness this season, so I don't think it will bother him too much. I think he'll be okay to continue. But I also know that you've got someone like Kane Kessler-Hayden on standby if Da Silva felt that he wasn't fit enough to start.
Yeah. No, I think we've got good options, for this game. We've pretty much got on paper everyone fit. I would think that Haji Wright and Jack Rudani will be back for this game. Do you think? I think personally, I don't know what your take is on this. Do you think that the Derby home game could be the harder game? I know we're at home, but I think if I look at Hull's home record this season, they have won 10 games, but they've actually lost 7 as well. So do you think on paper the Hull game could be the easier game, or do you think both games are about a similar sort of level in terms of difficulty?
I actually do think the Derby game is more tricky, just based on how good Derby have been on the road and how inconsistent Hull have been at home. But as I alluded to earlier, I think it largely depends on how Hull City get on in the Friday game. If they can win, and then obviously with Ipswich not playing because they would have, I believe they would have played Southampton, but Southampton is still in the FA Cup. And Millwall and Middlesbrough are playing each other, so there's a chance that both of them could take points off each other. A win for Hull on Friday means they're suddenly right in the mixer, and if you give them a bit of a sniff, then that's going to give them extra motivation. But I think on the other hand, if they drop points or lose, maybe that'll deflate them a bit, and instead of looking upwards for automatic promotion, they're going to be more concerned with trying to defend a playoff place, especially with Derby and Wrexham also playing. And if Derby beat Coventry and if Wrexham win their game and Hull City have a bad result, then Hull City could be looking behind their shoulder, and that is not a position they'd want to be in. So no. I think it largely depends on how it goes, but Derby could be very tricky, but I still think we'll have enough to win.
Fingers crossed that does happen. How are you feeling ahead of the next 2 games? You feeling excited, apprehensive? What's your emotions at the moment?
I'm feeling excited because yes, there's a chance we could get a bad result in any of these 2 games. They are both really, really good sides. But I'm looking forward to the challenge because more often than not this season, we've had really, really challenging situations and we've risen to the occasion. Middlesbrough away, that was a big 6-pointer. We won that. Even earlier, Stoke 6-pointer, we won that. We had a really, really dodgy winter where we got sucked into it. And Middlesbrough even overtook us. We lose that game in Middlesbrough. Maybe we're just looking at trying to even defend a playoff place, never mind an auto spot. But we won that, and then we went on another run. So we've had difficult challenges. We've faced a lot of adversity, but more often than not, we've come through it. So I'm fully confident that we will come out of it in an even better position.
Yeah, let's hope that definitely happens. Got some question here. One from Glenn Watkin. Is Charlie Hughes someone we should be looking at next season if and I say the word if we're a Premier League club?
Yes, he is someone I think we should consider. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of people we should consider, because I think we'll have to keep in mind that if we are promoted, the likelihood is we are going to have the smallest budget in Premier League next season. Whether we like that or not, that's going to be the case. So while Charlie Hughes is certainly somebody to consider, I personally think we are going to look a lot more into the foreign market than we are the domestic market.
Yeah, I think he's a very good defender, but as you say, I'm sure Lampard will scale the market, not just him, but Dean Austin and the whole scouting team. But I think he's a player we should be looking at. But we'll see what happens to that one. But yeah, no, I think the whole game is a tricky game. But I think what gives me confidence is the away record this season has been good for us, hasn't it? We've had 10 wins on the road this season. How do you assess our performances on the road? I thought the Swansea game, which we'll talk about a little bit as well, as I thought we were very poor the first 20 minutes, and that could have been a game we could have could have been different. It could have been a different result had they took their chances. Is there any concern with how he started that game? We don't want it to transfer over to the next game, but you're not concerned too much by that.
No, not really. I think before our game against Swansea had been on an excellent home run. So I think we were always going to spend the first part of the game like on the back foot, just trying to stay in the game, and they were going to come at us, which they did, but they just couldn't convert their chances. But we weathered the storm, and then when it was our turn to get our chances, we were very clinical with those chances, and we put those chances away. So I wouldn't say I'm too concerned. Weird as it sounds, I don't think Hull will be as positive as Swansea were in the early going. And to Swansea's credit, they were absolutely brilliant for that first half, which is mad to say when they ended about half 3-0 down. But it was 1-0, they still kept pressing, 2-0, they still kept pressing. And it didn't really take until the third goal where their heads eventually dropped. So they never capitulated. They still gave it a go. Like we had to be clinical, because if we weren't, it could have been a very, very nervy game. And I wouldn't say that's a concern for us. Just a credit to how Swansea did and have been doing at home.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a game where, as you say, I think they hit the bar quite early on, and Rushworth didn't start the game very well either. It was a little bit sloppy in possession, but I think we can ease off on it a little bit because he's probably been our player of the season. Is there any other players that you think, apart from Rushworth, that's really stood out for you this season? I mean, you could probably name the whole team, I guess, but for me, Rushworth player of the season. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, it's not really a contest for me, but at the same time, I'll shout out other players. I think Tatsuya Sakamoto has had his best season in a Coventry shirt. Ephron Mason-Clark, again, fantastic on the wing. I think Bobby Thomas just continues to get better and better and better. Like, he's not going to be a football purist favourite because he's not renowned for his passing, but old-fashioned centre half who will just block everything. Latibodia has been my surprise package. I thought, he's going to be completely out of contention, but Kitching had a poor run of form. Latibodia came back into the fold, and he's been brilliant. He's been brilliant. He's really surprised me. And Jay Da Silva, again, he's just been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
and I'll also give a shout out to Josh Eccles finally, just because he's not really started many games. He's not been expected to start many games, but whenever he's been called upon, he's been really good, and he's scored a lot of important goals. But really, I could just credit the whole squad, because to a man, they've all been brilliant.
I mean, as I was saying last night, it's easy sort of saying we're top of the league. It is easy, everyone to be happy, but no one seems. Even the fringe players, there's no one whinging about not playing as many games. Luke Wolfenden on interview wasn't whinging. He was happy to play his part. Latibodia strikes me as always a very positive guy. I think one of the other fundamental aspects of our success, I think, is the camaraderie of the squad. There's a real togetherness to the squad. You see it on the training ground when you watch the City Unseen, things like that. Is that how you see that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the togetherness has been a big part of our success. All this camaraderie, this togetherness, like this squad, for me, it's effectively the same squad since the start of the 22-23 season. Sure, there's been a bit of there's been a few new players, but generally the squad is largely the same, and that's a credit to both the players who have just improved year on year, and also Frank Lampard for helping them get to that next level.
Yeah, right. Got some questions here from our audience. Josh, very good to hear from you, Josh. Hope you're well. He's asking the question: if you could pick the player that scores the goal that secures promotion, who would it be?
Jay Da Silva. Just hurry up and get your first Coventry goal, because you deserve it, mate. And it'd be so sweet if it is the goal that secures promotion.
I was thinking Ben Wilson at Blackburn again.
Yeah.
As a substitute.
If something happens to Haji Wright, you're up top, Ben. You can go up top.
Yeah. What about Sakamoto's another one, I think. I think he's such a popular player, wasn't he, with the fans? I think, for me, Sakamoto is just the player that everyone falls in love with. He's got the personality. He's a great player. He's a great person. I think he would be a good contender as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the other day that I was watching the mini documentary where Tatsuhiro Sakamoto visited the factory at the HAS-F1 team, because the Haas team principal is a Coventry fan, and I just noticed how it was just a genuine friendship between Io and Tatsu, and it was just really wholesome. It was like Io's taken. It was like Tatsu was like a long lost son or something. It was just the bond was that strong, and then obviously earlier this week, Haas visited Brighton, where the players got to experience being near a Formula One car, which they'd done before. And I think it's really cool, like this little relationship that we've built with the Haas F1 team as a product of Sakamoto's and Io's friendship. And it's just like, I love my Formula One, so I'm just fully getting behind Haas because of it. And it's like, yeah, this is really cool. Haas are the smallest team on the Formula One grid in terms of finances, in terms of personnel. And they're the underdog who are punching above their weight, being a competitive midfield runner. And at the same time, I'm like, that's what our club identity has always been, the underdog who punches above its weight. And I'm like, we can relate to this team. So I'm
definitely
really loving the bond. And I don't know how likely it is. It could just all be talk. But imagine having a Coventry City logo on a Formula One car, but vice versa. We could have the Haas logo on our advertising boards for press conferences.
It's almost like a partnership, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's some real synergies there potentially in terms of the scenario, like you mentioned about being the underdog. And if we do, let's be honest, if we do go up next season, we are the underdogs to stay in the Premier League, because it's a huge gap. I mean, you look at someone like Burnley, for example, who, let's face it, were quite easily got promoted, but a second bottom. But equally, on the other hand, Sunderland got out of it through the playoffs and they spent a few quid. And to be fair, and for credit where credit's due, Sunderland have done really well. So I think it just depends how bold Doug King is. I'm sure he'll have investors in mind right now as we talk. That I'm hoping will be in fruition this summer. Fingers crossed. Right, go to your comments. Your average Coventry fan is asking time for Yang to Markello to step up even. Yang, we've not really, he's been a forgotten player, obviously. Markello, do you think he could be starting for the Derby game? With bearing in mind with international duty that's happened recently?
It's hard to say, but I've been very, very patient, because I understand that he's been having to get up to speed because he had a little winter break, and he's had a couple of cameos, and he's looked quite good in most cameos, to be fair to him. He's getting more and more confident after every game. And I think even next season, he might even have a full season on loan. But honestly, in regards to Markello, just patience, because you can see that there's a talented player there, but just let him get used to the English game at his own pace, because we have more than enough depth. So just let him develop at his own pace without any pressure. And as for Yang, I've said it before, if I'm Tottenham, I'm absolutely fuming because he's not getting any minutes, but he's not really done anything wrong. And when his loan ends at the end of the season, I do wish the guy the best, because it's a shame we've not got to see more of him. But I think that's just a product, because you've got how good Mason Clark has been. SA I've been really impressed with. Sakamoto I've been really impressed with. And Markello is getting minutes, to get up to speed with the English game. So he's drew the short straw without really doing anything wrong.
Yeah. Just a question on Essie. Obviously, like looking at the players we've got on loan, potentially who we could sign this summer. I think we'd all agree that Rushworth is definitely a player we'd all sign, and I think Onyeka is definitely one we would sign. I think we're in a very powerful position, very strong position in getting those signed. But Romain Essie, is he a player that we should be thinking about signing maybe as well?
Perhaps. I think we are largely at the mercy in regards to how much Crystal Palace would want for him. But at the same time, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I really like what I see from him. He's kind of struggled to start in recent weeks because of how well Sakamoto has done. But at the same time, I really think he's done a good job. He's been a joy to watch. And I know that midweek he scored for England under 21s. Yes, you can make comments about the opposition, but you can only score what's in front of you, and goals breed confidence. And the fact he's already getting selected for the England under 21s when the England under 21 side has the depth and quality that they do, it says a lot about him in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's go to some more comments. Sky Blue Sam's asking, are you going Blackburn away? Are you going Blackburn away, Cameron?
No. I actually spoke to someone who really wanted to go, and I've realised I'm not really that bothered if I get a ticket or not. So if I see someone offering me a ticket, feel free to DM me. I will point you to someone else who really wants a ticket. I won't name them, but I've spoken to them, and it would really mean a lot for them to go. So I won't be there.
Okay. I am going to Blackburn, and hopefully I'm going there with our celebrating promotion. So fingers crossed that happens. But we'll see. I've not been to Blackburn before, so I'm looking forward to it. Right, I've got another question from Ben Watkin asking about, after watching Japan on Tuesday, should we be looking at signing players from Japan and Asia as a market that's not really been targeted by Premier League clubs? I guess the wider question is, are there any players from Asia generally that we could be looking at potentially in the summer?
Yeah, there's loads. There's absolutely loads. The J League, the K League in Japan and South Korea, they are full of young Japanese talent who are coming through. A lot of impressive young talent. A lot of them tend to go to Belgium, and more specifically Centroiden, who have a fair few Japanese players in their squad. So I think it'd be a case where we sign a Japanese talent in the hope that they've got a bright future, but if they don't, or if they're not in the fold immediately, that's no problem. We could loan them out to Belgium. That's what Brighton have done in recent years with, say, Matoma. He didn't immediately get in the Brighton side, but he had a loan stint at Union Saint-Gilloise, did really well, got called up to Brighton, and he's been an absolute key player for Brighton. And obviously over recent years, Celtic have really exploited the Japanese market really well. So there's certainly a market for it. So, yeah, absolutely. I would welcome that for sure.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know, did you watch much of the England-Japan game even?
I was at the Scotland Ivory Coast game, but without being controversial, I was very happy with the result.
Did Scotland win that, or was that a draw?
No. No, I mean, I was very happy with the England-Japan result.
Oh well, yeah. It's been nice knowing you anyway. Okay, let's talk about the Loan Watch, International Watch. You want to talk about? So let's see the Coventry players' performances.
Yep. So starting off with Jay Da Silva. He played the 420 minutes in Wales' playoff against Bosnia. Unfortunately, Wales did fall short. They lost the penalties to Bosnia, and then Bosnia went on to shock the Italians, who to progress to the World Cup. So definitely a big missed opportunity for the Welsh. Efron Mason-Clark and Joel Latibeaudiere were away with Jamaica. They beat New Caledonia 1-0. Efron Mason-Clark started in the New Caledonia game, but was on the bench for the game against DR Congo, and he came off the bench. Latibeaudiere started both games, but unfortunately, DR Congo beat Jamaica in extra time to progress to the World Cup. Frank Onyeka played 2 friendlies for Nigeria. What else is there? Greg Sanderford, he was away from the Bedford Town squad because he was in Rwanda for the FIFA series. He played both games against Rwanda and Kenya, but they fell to defeat in both games in 2 heavy defeats at that. And finally, Kai Andrews, he started the week with the Wales under-21s, put an impressive showing. Because there was a couple of injuries to the Wales seniors, he was promoted to the senior team for a friendly against Northern Ireland. He wasn't unused substitute, but I think the experience of being with the senior team again would have done him a lot of good.
Excellent stuff. Right, let's go to predictions for the whole game. We'll do Derby game as well if you want. Let's do that. Let's do Derby and whole games. What's your heart and head telling you on those games?
Ooh, I'm going to go with 2-1 Coventry against Derby. I think it'll be tight. It'll be quite nervy, but I think we'll have just enough to get over the line. And as for Hull City, I'm going to be a bit brave and I'm going to say 2-0 Cov. Because our recent record at the with the last decade or so has been fairly good. If we've not won it all, we've got draws. So I like to think that we'll be okay and we'll get a result, hopefully a win.
Do you think psychologically, if we come away, this is with at least 4 points, do you think we're there? Would you say?
Yeah.
Very much Sheffield Wednesday ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not quite there yet, are we? We're nearly there, but we're not quite there.
Yeah. I'd agree with that, and it's just weird in the sense that promotion. I'm pretty sure promotion could be confirmed on Monday, provided every single result goes our way. But I think we should be a lot closer if we can get the results that we need. Just psychologically, get at least 4 points. That's 84 points. We just feel so much closer.
How difficult do you think it is? Like you hear interviews from Lampard, the players, we're focusing one game at a time. But I think the danger is being distracted by what the rewards could be. Is that something that is quite hard to manage, do you think, for someone like Lampard? The expectations, the excitement that is around the corner potentially?
I think with Lampard, himself is quite desensitized to it because he, as a player, he won a lot of trophies with Chelsea, domestically and continentally, and he played a lot of big games for England. So I think he's kind of desensitized about big pressure, but that doesn't mean it's not felt. It's still felt. It's how you deal with that pressure. And I think with Lampard's experience, he knows how to deal with that pressure. And I think that those experiences have rubbed on the players really well. Not to mention that a fair few of the squad, they've had near misses with promotion, whether that's with Coventry or not with Coventry. Obviously, Jake Bidwell was in our playoff final. So the experience that he will bring to the table is great. Thomas and Kitching, before they came here, they were part of a playoff final for Barnsley against Sheffield Wednesday. They weren't on the winning side, but those lessons would have been very valuable, and they can take them on board and they can take them on board. And Frank Onyeka, I'm pretty sure he won a Danish title with Midtjylland and a Danish Cup, and he's played a lot of big games for Nigeria and for Brentford, and even for Augsburg when he was on loan there last year. So I think we've got enough big game experience to be okay.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of, I think we listened to Matty Grimes' interview on CWR. He was very much one game at a time. We can't look too far ahead. I think that's the thing. I think the one game I feel worries me a little bit is the Derby game, because I know, all right, they've got Schmodix who's missing, but they've still got quality there. They've got Brereton, Diaz, obviously, Ryan Brewster. Adjaman, is he potentially going to be playing, do you think, tomorrow? Do you think?
I think he might be on the bench just because obviously he'd been away with the US, so there's potential jet lag. But I can imagine him still being available, so it is still a danger if he comes on, and he can be a massive threat. Yeah,
he might. I mean, the Derby fan last night was saying he reminds him of Paolo Wanchop, which you may or may not remember, but he's a similar player, like leggy, pacey striker. Yeah, I just think if we can get past Derby, if we can sneak a win by your goal, I think psychologically I feel like we're really there. That's just how I feel right now. As I say, if we get a point, you always feel a bit disappointed, but the goal is 92 points now, isn't it? It's 4 wins. If you get 4 wins, we're promoted. But also the fact that we're playing these games, the next 2 games, at 8 o'clock kickoffs. So is that an advantage or a disadvantage, do you think? I suppose it depends on the result, would be how I'd answer that question. But how do you take that?
I think tomorrow, in its own way, it's an advantage because Hull will be playing, Middlesbrough will be playing, Mill will be playing. So we can see how they get on before we play. And while, yes, we're still in charge of our own destiny, it's nice to just sit back, relax at the comfort of your own home, see how the games go. Don't panic if Middlesbrough and Mill will win. Please don't panic, because if one of them wins, then it's a really big win for them. But on the flip side, whoever loses that game, we have a chance to go a further 3 points ahead of them. So that's important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So I'm very relaxed. I'm very relaxed in regards to that. We're in a very favourable position. We can just sit. We can have our feet up at lunchtime, watch Middlesbrough Millwall, and just enjoy the game as a neutral, because I'm sure it'll be a cracker. And the whole game as well. I mean, for them, if they can win, then they'll definitely be feeling confident going into Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think for me it's a really exciting part of the season now. It's going to be a tough season. I think next 2 games. I think after these 2, you've got Sheffield Wednesday, Blackburn, and Portsmouth. So that's definitely an opportunity to get 9 points in those games. So I think if we can get 4 points, I mean that will take us, in theory, if all those results happens, that's 93 and that's promotion. But yeah, it's been an unbelievable journey if we do get it. I mean, 25 years outside the top flight. It's been. Do you think our rise to the top? I mean, I was saying this in the WhatsApp chat tonight. I feel like when you compare our story to, say, Wrexham, I think our story is a better story. Yes, Wrexham have gone up from the National League up to the Championship, and they're just outside the playoffs. But they've always had money to spend. But if you look at our story, we've come from League Two to the Championship, but we've got one of the lowest budgets playing squad wise. We don't really spend a lot of money, and I just think what's been achieved by not just the players but the whole squad. The way Doug King has come in, he's got the stadium. We're getting the right people. You can't forget people like Dr. Clare, Dean Austin. I know I've been a little bit critical of some of his signings, but in fairness to Dean Austin, he's probably got more right than wrong. We've got a really good professional setup now at the club. It just feels elite. It feels like we belong at the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all a collective. Obviously, Lampard on the pitch, but it's also Lampard's coaches, his physio, his staff, even the kit man. I think does an important job. Together, and from the days of League Two under Mark Robins, where we kind of really had to go back up immediately because it could have been trouble if we didn't. Because if we hadn't, Mark Robins probably wouldn't have lasted as long as he did. And then we went up League One. We did it by smart recruitment. We didn't throw a lot of money at it. And even in the early years in the Championship, we didn't throw a lot of money. It was smart recruitment. Gyökeres for just $1 million. Look how that turned out. Hamer for just over $1 million. Look how that also turned out. And then obviously Doug King came along. We spent a lot more money in regards to transfer fees, but the wage bill was still very small. And I read somewhere earlier that our wage bill last season was still the 4th smallest in the league.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And on that wage bill, it's remarkable what we've still continued to do. And I think even this year, although I'm sure those accounts will be released next year, I wouldn't be surprised if it was still a bottom 6 wage bill, and we're still going, to potentially win the league. So, and not to mention, we barely really spent a lot of money this summer because we were already happy with the current squad, which I think just makes the achievement of potentially getting over the line, maybe even winning the league, just that much sweeter.
Yeah, I think the only sign I could really think of, Markello, we spent about £4 million on him. Mm-hmm. But no, I think it's been well, so far it's been an incredible season, and we want it to get better, of course. Anything else you want to bring up tonight?
I think we've wrapped everything up.
Yeah, I think that's it. Well, Cameron, it's been really good speaking to you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
And so plan of next week is there's no show this weekend, but we've got a show hopefully Wednesday next week. So we'll talk about hopefully some 2 wins against Derby and Hull. We'll definitely be previewing Sheffield Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. So 7:00 on Wednesday is the time for that. So stay tuned. So yeah, without further ado, thanks Cameron for being a great guest tonight. So just just a bit more last bit of housekeeping before we wrap up. So we're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications for all your fabrication needs across Coventry and the Warwickshire area. We're partners by Sky Blue Tavern and the Anecdote even, sorry. And we are also teamed up with the Sports Social Podcast Network, and we're also sponsored by Sky and Friends Dog Walking and Pet Services. So without further ado, thank you. Play up Sky Blues. Have a great Easter, everyone that's listening. Thank you for your comments. And let's hope we get 6 points next couple of games. Speak soon. See you later.